Welcome to the Church of Thomas, Apostolic Succession, 1:14:11. One of the things that Jesus spoke out against constantly was an elite group of people who led religions. He basically castigated the Pharisees and the scribes and anyone else who basically decided that they had to create a priesthood to control the people through verses that were attributed and then used as the force of God. Jesus did not want an elite class. He wanted you talking directly to God. The other thing was that because there were people who decided that they could become an apostle, it made the illusion that you could be an apostle just by saying it. Paul was a good example of this, but in Acts they actually decided that they needed to fill a slot because Judas Iscariot was no longer with them for the reason of his betrayal. But Jesus didn't say, oh, and by the way, there need to be 12 of us, so if one of you dies or something, just appoint another one. Well, here's some verses that will clarify. Acts 1:23 through 26. So they proposed two, Joseph called Barsabbas, who was also known as Justus, and Matthias. Then they prayed and said, Lord, you know everyone's heart. Show us which one of these two you have chosen to take the place in this ministry and apostleship from which Judas turned aside to go to his own place. And they cast lots for him, and the lot fell on Matthias, and he was added to the 11 apostles. One of the reasons they kept trying to hold on to the idea of 12 was that because they represented the tribes of Israel, it was a magical number. It wasn't a number that was represented by Jesus. Jesus never put any value on the number 12. But because these were of Jewish descent, they decided that this was important. Now, this tradition that was started in Acts and then adopted by Paul was the idea that the priesthood, the elite that Jesus spoke out against in this new Christian movement, was to be able to pass on the ability to be an apostle of Jesus just by laying on of hands. It started with the Catholic Church, Peter's church, and so every new priest, there was a bishop or another higher up who would gather all around and lay hands on this new minister, this new priest, this new person, and say, poof, you're an apostle. Well, it doesn't work like that. Jesus is still the only one who can choose an apostle. Now, unfortunately, even though the Protestants spoke out against a great many things that the Catholic Church did, they went on to also adapt and adopt the idea that by laying on of hands, by the higher-ups, the priesthood that Jesus spoke out against, you could confer apostleship on anyone. This is obviously an erroneous conception and should be fought at all levels. Talk directly to God. It's not necessary to go through Pharisees and priesthoods. God bless the whole world. No exceptions. Angel Eliza.